And we've got 9 races to get through at headquarters here in Victoria Saturday night. Of course, a huge night up in Queensland, but some really quality horses, J-Bond, going around down here in Melbourne for this time of year.
Yeah, Melbourne, Victoria. Yes, there are. There's no doubt about it. And they're good races. Again, there's a few that are very tricky to map, but I love the idea. I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't mind instituting. We're having a production meeting on air here. But the speed maps that I'm offering at the moment, sometimes I'm only doing 3 or 4, but it'd be great. Geordie's on the call here, your brother, the tech genius. George, is he a tech genius? I think he is. Anyway,
he's a tech genius. He's a boffin.
Bezos or Zuckerberg, is to basically in those races where there's only really 2 largely possible maps.
Yeah.
You throw both up almost and say, well, this is 70% likely and that's 30% likely because
I'd say it's wholly doable.
3.
Yeah, I'd say it's wholly doable, but we'll wait for the thumbs up or otherwise from the voice of the sky that we can see on the screen here as to whether or not you could put race 1 and actually have 2 speed maps under the software that's been built. There might be just some thinking music, J-Bond, a little bit of thinking music, if you will.
A little bit of well, I'm a big Jeopardy fan, so we could do the see what I'm doing here. Sorry, I'm just closing a bit. I'm a real hoarder of apps.
Yep.
So
I think I can see. Well, while J-Bond closes his map, the voice in the sky says you can actually have as many maps as you like, really, James. So go silly. Go bananas, J-Bond.
Why not?
Absolutely nuts. Bananas.
Race 1 goes.
Race 1, we've got a free-for-all. Geez, we've got, I mentioned good quality horses. We've got some resuming. We'll talk about as we go through. I'm really looking forward to seeing how some of those horses go and get your opinion on them, Jace. But race 1, when I first looked at it, I thought, you look at a similar race recently where Jillaby Jack Sparrow found the top perfect class, was able to balance up out wide, run to the lead. And it was game over basically from there. And the funny thing about this race is it's a similar kind of structure, right? But geez, you've got some good horses going.
What are you talking? Structure.
You've got some good horses going really, really well. So I sort of think, why would they let this race become just we'll all go around?
Well, it's interesting. Well, it will all depend on what happens. Like it so often does the first 2 formative furlongs, maybe 3. So if perfect class is able to find the front, but I am going to make an alternate case. First of all, though, this is, I reckon, this entire meeting for the pace setter profiles, the data snaps, as you like to call them, it's the best we've had since starting the Tongue Tie Off podcast. So we'll have a look at a couple of them. I'll tell you why they're so crucial. I'm going to try and explain this a little bit better than I have previously. Perfect class.
That's a round of applause for the amount of data stats that you've put up this week, Jace. It's extraordinary.
Perfect class when leading 6 times, undefeated.
Look at that.
So, as you love to say, a 100% win record.
Yes.
We're not leading. 19 goes for 3 wins, stacked of placings, but the win percentage is down at 15.79. And the reason that I investigate these profiles and these data snaps is because that is incredibly significant. And the same can be said for Ian Buckian, who I'm going to make a case for leading. Record leading, very, very good. Not quite as good as perfect class, but 10 goes. Went a bit bummed then. Not quite as good, but 10 sorts, 6 wins, 2 placings, not leading. Unbelievably, the record not leading in terms of the win record is exactly the same.
6 wins out of 38.
Double the starts, double the win, 6 from 38, 15.79%.
How do you get 15.79? It looks like a typo, but it's not. That's incredible.
But it is so crucial. This is why mapping is so important and getting the maps right, because for so many horses, and I'll give you an alternate later in the card where a particular draw doesn't seem to matter for them where you think it would, but leading for both of these horses is incredibly important, Coates.
I'd love to see a stat, Jace, on overall leaders winning. Do you know what I mean? Like the actual, because these stats are phenomenal, but I also think, once you're out in front, you are more chance in our game of winning, aren't you? Naturally, most horses are.
You are, but good horses in good races like free-for-alls,
Yep.
it's more important. And
Yeah,
you know what?
true.
It works other way as well, because I don't know if I mentioned it, but Captain's Catch, I think a couple of weeks back, the record leading was really weirdly poor. So there's some horses, and Captain Balisario's, when we'll talk about later, his record leading isn't as good as it should be. So some horses are pack animals and prefer to sit off the pace. And I even mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Bulletproof Boy, I think is actually better coming off the pace. And some horses they go from being very good to outstanding or good to very good, depending on whether they can find the front.
No, I love it. I think they're really important, these things. What about this race, J-Bon? You and I did have a little text chatter today. I did a bit of form on Yambuckian. It's interesting, I thought, that he doesn't come off the arm as often as I thought he would. And I know you're about to make a case for why you think that could happen. And I must say, he's clearly got the gate speed because we've seen him use it. But I guess it's just the way that the race profiles in some of these free-for-alls set up that quite often he just hasn't used it out wide. But you're seeing an opportunity here?
Well, I think that a lot of the time out wide, he's not really used up because they know that the lead's not available. I remember a great chat with Andy Gath going back a long time ago with the Yambucky, and he was drawn wide. And I don't think I've convinced Andy of too many things over the journey because he's such an erudite, learned man when it comes to his form. I said, I reckon Yambucky and Cadilly lead, and they came off the arm from out wide in this race a long time ago, early in his career. He didn't lead, but he's got the gate speed. And critically here, something we've spoken about seemingly every week on the Tongue Tie podcast is Jilliby Jack Sparrow's pace. And that is the critical factor here because I'll ask you, and we've already had this chat privately on text this morning, who is the quicker beginner? If you take Jilliby Jack Sparrow out of the equation, who's quicker off the gate out of Perfect Class and the Yam Book?
Yeah, I would say Yambuckian. Yep.
So I just see the situation, and I reckon Andy will as well, and Kate, that if Jilliby Jack Sparrow pings, as he does, the Yambuckian is used, not to try and beat him off the gate, because he won't, but to create that covering space where Perfect Class is in no man's land in the demilitarised zone, and then you can push on and have a track for the front. But then, as you've raised, the big question is, does Jilliby Jack Sparrow hand up to Yamba? Even if he doesn't, it's not the worst spot to be, because I think if he doesn't hand up to Yambuckian and Perfect Class takes a bit of time to get there, Jilliby might hold the front, and then you won one anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. And two things. One, I remember Yambuckian following from a similar draw, following a horse with really good gate speed. I just cannot picture the horse. You might remember. Followed it straight across. I think realised, okay, I'm not going to get the front, and quickly jumped into the 1-1. But you could just see the gate speed that night. If they got real aggressive, there was plenty more there still. With this sort of setup, I think Glenn Craven would want to take cover over the longer trip on Jilliby Jack Sparrow, right? And what are the odds of Kate handing up to Perfect Class? Now, this, Jace, becomes, how high do you rate Perfect Class? Do you look at the market where it's $1.40 and say, that's how high I rate Perfect Class? Or do you say, hang on form, compared to what some of these other horses have done, I don't rate it $1.40. And you know what? Why would Kate and Andy hand up with Yambuckian and take a trail behind that horse?
We both took a big hit last week. Nothing seemed to make any sense, right? So at the risk of being too declarative, I'll be 99.99% sure if Yambuckian found the front, there's no lead for Perfect Class. The last time they met, Perfect Class led, Yambuckian was in the breeze, and Yambuckian went down 2.2.
2.2, exactly. And from
arguably, if you go pound for pound, like I love my boxing, pound for pound, Yambuckian's run was better.
Yeah,
Yambuckian's beaten Catch a Wave. There's no way that I can envisage that Yambuckian would be handing up.
You go back to that race too, yeah. Perfect Class has worked to the front comfortably enough. Yambuckian started from SR5 at his parked and beaten 2.2 metres. It's pretty telling, isn't it?
And Perfect Class also, it might have got touched, but it broke up last start, didn't it? Coming off the gate.
I think so, yeah.
So he's not that quick anyway.
The market, J-Bon, had Yambucky in $13 into $8 today.
Yeah.
It opened $8 actually today, so it was 13 into 8 early.
Yeah.
Jillaby Jack Sparrow was 26 into 19s. Perfect Class hasn't budged from that $1.40. Just a little sip is in your black book, Jace. Drawn barrier 2. Last time it was drawn alongside You Betcha Tiger Pie. Whooshka straight at the start, straight to the pegs, and ended up 3 fence and ran a good race, and then you black booked it. Your thoughts here?
The break between runs is concerning, but he did trial very well at Bacchus Marsh recently. And look, if you're going to have a throw at the stumps, you can make a case for a few, as you've already mentioned. Serge Blanco was a pseudo black booker.
He's $41, Serge Blanco.
Your mate, Rikiro Rebel, 888.
Yep. $41, J-Bond. $41 for Serge Blanco. That feels extraordinary.
Well, the fact of the matter is, when you've got Perfect Class at $1.40, everything nearly has to be over, doesn't it? I mean, $1.40 is, in my mind, utterly, totally, ludicrously ridiculous.
Unless,
even if he led,
yep.
If you knew he was going to lead, would you have $200 on $1.40?
No, I wouldn't. But I'd be confident if this happened, right? This scenario, Jillaby Jack Sparrow runs to the top, Yambuckian goes back, right? And then Karen Manning balances up and runs to the top on Perfect Class. I would tip it on top with a fair level of confidence based on that scenario. The question is, how likely is that scenario? It did happen previously, but this is a different field.
As per last week or 2 weeks ago, we're spending a lot of time on race fun, but I'll ask you this question because we both grew up on thoroughbred racing, right?
Yep.
We don't worry so much about barrier draws. You worry about pound for pound who the best horse is. Is Perfect Class even the best horse in the race? And if he is it by much?
I'm going to ask you, J-Bon, as the form analyst here. Do you think he's the best horse in the race? Mark Pitt, whether or not he has the choice of drives, I don't know, but he's on Mark Dan. Who would you prefer to drive, J-Bon? Would you prefer to drive Mark Dan under these scenario or Perfect Class?
Oh,
one's $7, one's $1.40.
I'd probably Perfect Class, but Mark Dan is overs.
Yep.
He was $10 originally. Yambuckian is overs, but you need to side with me on the idea that he's going to lead. If he doesn't lead, I don't know if he can win. The biggest bet that I've had, only one market available to have a crack at, is Jillaby Jack Sparrow a place.
Yep. $3.20 the place on tab.
He surely finds the best. And if he does,
yeah, good point.
I, as you've already mentioned, I would want him to hand up to something. And if he's behind the leader, well, he was in that same race with Perfect Class and Yambuckian that we referenced. He ran second, didn't he?
Well, he is the key form reference. We are in 100% agreement that he finds the lead. He can either lead, he can hand up to Yambuckian, or he can hand up to Perfect Class. One thing's for sure and certain. He's got to be there at the end, doesn't he?
It's not a bad in-play race, is it?
No, 100%. All right, that's race 1. The game plans will be up on pacesetters.au Saturday morning, so make sure you check that out. Just note, I can't give you any of your Herv bets tonight, Jace, odds, because there are no odds available as I refresh on harness.org.au, which is a very surprising turn of events because they're normally well up by now.
My attention. I'll be interested to see if they pop up.
Yep, we'll keep an eye on those through the recording. Race 2, J-Bon, is over the 1720 metres, and I've got one official black booker here in my Uncle Stan and an unofficial black booker called Layden going around, who was pretty unlucky last start when was rattling home and finished third and is so close to a win.
Yeah.
I sound disheartened, don't I, as I was saying that, because I really wanted Layden to win last time out at $10.
Well, who knows what it's going to start here? I mean, that's the key here. I'd love to get a price for Layden.
Me too.
Here's one for a number of races. I've got a little map, like race 1. Not many people will have Yambuckian in front. I've got a couple of little off-Broadway ideas, and I'm not doing them. I haven't got them so that I can be divergent or eccentric or contrarian. It's just what I think. I went back and watched Blast the Ranger, who probably 3 and 4 starts back, I want to have a little go out for a place. Second row gate 1, so gate 8, and how he follows through, and he struggles to keep up. My Uncle Stan, we know, is a quick beginner. Layden doesn't like to get involved. Yapper likes to come out. I reckon Yapper's a chance of getting in behind the leader, or maybe even, who knows, Yapper runs the gate and Layden's the one that gets there. So I know you've got a little bit of a thought to back Blast Ranger at least for a place, but I'm not sure he's going to end up behind the leader.
Are you talking about the Shepparton run where he was drawn 8?
I went back through. Let me put a memento pull for. Let me check. I went back through a few runs.
Well, he won that race, but the leader, the pole marker, pings out pretty quick. Yeah, he followed through. Okay, I'm not even sure though that they wanted to be on the pegs there. He ended up winning the race.
There were a couple. So he's been in this position.
Yeah.
This draw. Well, plenty of times. 8 times.
Yep.
But I went back through a few when there were a couple of times where it wouldn't have been disadvantageous. There was one in particular where the pole marker led comfortably.
Yep.
And he wasn't able to hold the back of it. So
yeah. Well, that might be. I wonder if that was that Yahoo, Mick Stanley. I see it ran 4th at 150 to 1 at Melton behind Sassiola, who won at 80 to 1. Yahoo ran 2nd, Loving It Chevy came 3rd, and Blaster Ranger was 4th at 150 to 1 from 3 pegs that night. Stable change with Beck Bartley these days. He's only been there for about 5 runs.
They might even be happy. This is the other thing people don't consider, even with horses off the front line. I guess Layden is an example. That the effort expended to push up and hold that position.
Yeah.
You think that's an ideal position. I want to be behind the leader, but the effort might. What did Blake Red used to love it? Well, the juice might not be worth the squeeze.
It's a great saying that. It's a bit like the Paul Keating T-shirt I'm wearing tonight, Jay's all tip and no iceberg. This man had a few great sayings. Paul Keating and Blake Redden. What's that?
Was it Houston who was talking about that?
Quite possibly. It was that era. He was a terrific performer in the house. It was Costello, we're being told from the voice in the sky, that all tip no iceberg was about Costello because, of course, he never challenged the big dog, Johnny. I like Blaster Ranger. I just thought that last run, Jace, was better than it looks on paper. The horse is going well enough, and it's a different horse on the pegs, and I like the map, but I did assume that it probably would be behind the leader. But even from 3 pegs, I think at the right price, I'd consider something far more the place than the win. But if a scenario panned out where Layden was able to jump in behind my Uncle Stan, there's only one horse I want to be on, and that's Layden, because that'd just be beautiful. It's an electric.
I reckon if I'm getting, I've done my own prices.
Yeah.
I give them all, but if you ever want to like tap me for what you think something might, if Layden,
what is Layden?
6.
Yeah.
If I'd need to get at least that.
Yeah, I want more, but that's a pretty fair price in a way.
The last couple of times, at least the last time Layden met my Uncle Stan, it went better than my Uncle Stan.
Was that the race where I almost black booked both of them, but I went with my Uncle Stan, who then went on to win?
Yes.
And has actually done very well. I was tossing it round that night. I just reckon that Jody actually did a little bit more work on my Uncle Stan that night, but they were both line ball. If you believe that Layden went better, and he hasn't done anything wrong really since, I think there was one flat run, but he's been unlucky the last couple. He's so close to a win. Absolutely so close.
It's just hard when they're one-dimensional sit sprints, isn't it? But that's why you need a price.
You do.
Just quickly before we go into race 3, give me your thoughts on. So Hugo Maguire was heavily backed, and then Captain's Catch, I think, had the late money. Big trial before the last run. Didn't pace great.
Yep.
And you would normally think under those circumstances, well, if you were on the pegs then, it was behind the leader. If you're off the pegs here, is it worse? But on class, Hugo Maguire might just be able to sit parked and bash them into submission, potentially. It's a race that I'm not that keen to play in, other than maybe Layden, for that reason, for many reasons.
What about clear left?
Yeah, it was a really good run.
So he had no
Last
luck
week.
at all behind LaBelle Bajou a fortnight ago.
No.
Second in the breeze when pushed Mickey Success all the way to the wire. And I know you said Mickey went a bit rough, but you did say too that Mickey had a bit of a future. And this horse has parked and run a good race. And this is still a Metro maiden. It's drawn well. It's flying. It's fifth run for Douglas now, so it's probably ready to absolutely peak.
But this is the problem. Yappa's going well, and I've got it maybe getting in behind the leader.
Yep.
Lottie Moon is showing signs again, but drawn awfully over 720 metres. Big Boy Mel was even good last.
Tiger Bandwagon's a funny horse.
To my liking.
Yeah, I agree. Tiger Bandwagon's another one who I think on class is absolutely right in this. Just the draw makes it hard. Look, yeah, we've both sort of, there are that many chances it's hard to be definitive, isn't it? But Leiden's the one, and I think, do we both agree if it came up overs, that's the one we're looking at backing
Before we
each
get
way?
into race 3, is my $6 good enough for you each way?
If it opens 6, I'm just holding because I don't think I don't think it'll shorten too much more. But who knows? I've said that before, and it started $3 or $4. But I'd prefer longer. But
race 3,
yeah, it's a good chance. Race 3 is the Trotters, Jace.
I think I've got a couple of.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Snaps here.
Yeah, you do. You've got 3. You've got Kyvelli Amanda.
Yeah, right. I mean, this takes the perfect class Ian Buckian little paradigm to the next level. Kyvelli Amanda, record leading, 6 starts, 4 wins, 2 placings. Not leading, 1 from 18. Courmayeur, who I think broke the heart of our former colleague, TikTok O'Connor.
Oh,
6 starts leading, 6 wins, 26 starts not leading, 2 wins.
That's extraordinary. Yep.
And perhaps the weirdest one of all, the pole master in my dreams, I don't know what price it will be. I'm losing my voice thinking about it. It's never missed a place from the pole.
Yep. The Joey Borg and Charlie Borg horses are going around over the odds, it seems, J-Bond, because it loomed up strongly last time out and was a pretty big price, I think, from memory. Yeah, $23, ran second, drawn the pole again.
What are your thoughts? You like one drawn wide here?
Yeah, I like Lady Adelia just on class, J-Bond. I thought the second to Virginia Clowers when galloped and lost about 20 metres and still beat home Rockin' with what was I say? Rockin' with Shiraz, but that's not right. Is that the mother of Rockin' with Attitude? Yeah. Still beat that horse home. We know what Rockin' with Attitude's gone on to do up in Queensland. That was actually a big run for Lady Adelia. She's clearly a good trotter. We know that. She's been racing the fast class the next couple of starts. This is a Metro maiden where you've got much lower rated horses going round. Black and Gold, the horse I dreamt about winning, it actually won last night or the night before, Jace, would you believe? But you look at, in my dreams, yes, drawn the pole. I get that's, the stat says it'll be thereabouts. Maori Duchess, I think we've got it covered. Copacabana. For some reason, I want Copacabana over the longer trip. I like the horse, but I want over further. Kyvelli Amanda, you've made a good point if you can find the lead. Black and Gold. Cormaya is interesting, just needs to put it together, and it's clearly got ability. Elder Baron, a crux is you'd have to respect big time.
Snoozer's driving that one.
He is, and Elder Baron Miley from Snoozer's stable too, and Exalted, who has been racing really well, but somehow won last time by the barest of margins. I reckon Lady Adelia's got all of those horses covered for class, Jace.
So here's my question to you. We've already discussed this, but 11 starts over the short, no wins, 2 silver medals, no bronze. So it's a very poor record over the short trip, but many of those efforts were in very good races, right? So you can take that for what it's worth. Here's my question to you.
Yep.
Gate speed, the 1 gets out well, the 2 won't do much, the 3 is just okay. Kyvelli, Amanda, and Courmayeur get out well. Black and Gold does, but won't from out there. Do they try something different over the short here, given the class edge that you've discussed, and say, we're not going to go back like we have religiously under the Christian sacrament? We're going to go forward. Because it's 1,720 metres.
Maybe.
We can't give it up by going all the way back. Because I think if she goes all the way back, it's too hard.
Went back in the Group 2 Breed for Speed Gold final, beaten 5 metres by Queen Alida, was won by 4, was not on the pegs. The point I'm trying to make is I'm not even sure the map matters sometimes with this sort of stuff, because if it's a better horse, then drive it to just do what you have to do. And I guess that's where I'm leaning for this horse. And I'm hoping I get a price, but I don't know. What odds have you marked it?
No.
Or thereabouts?
I'm a little bit dubious to give out my prices here because this is one of the hardest. And
Yeah.
I'm not doing the prices for this meeting the way that I normally would with that intention, but 6.5.
Yeah.
I think
And
you've got to give market percentage to Kai Valley, Amanda, to Courmayeur, to Elderbaron, Miley, and to Exalted at very least.
Yeah.
So it's tricky.
I think they'll open it shorter than that.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I'm right or the market's right. You might be bang on. But at 650, I'd be happy to play. That'd be my each way value of the night if you gave me 650.
Would you have Exalted, Elderbaron, Miley, Courmayeur, or Kai Valley, Amanda at double figures?
I don't know. I don't know. Not sure. Maybe Amanda. Exalted's got the tough draw to overcome, but is racing well. I don't know. I'm interested to see how this market opens up, but I suspect that I just have a feeling Lady Adelia will open up a fair bit shorter than what you've mentioned there. And I'd probably be happy to back it at around $3, $3.50. But if you offered me $6.50, I'll obviously be even more happy.
I know I've done a rough set, but before we get on to race 4,
yep.
Can you roughly give me a price? The one that I would back at the right price is a stablemate, a cohabitant called Elderbaron Miley.
Yeah, you like this horse a little bit, don't you? I can't tell you a price because I haven't done a deep enough look at the race on the whole to be able to give any sort of idea of what the market would open or what I'd open Miley at. I'd probably have to look at the profile, Jace, of recent starts with Miley. It's 550 last time out, 11.88. Always been racing around Melton in.
It's an easier race for. It sounds funny because there's a few of them, but it feels like an easier race for a few horses.
Well, it does. It's and that you can get that, can't you? Too in these. What is this one? Is it a 1-win $15,000 stake, Jay? So it's not a Metro Maiden. It's like the old M1 trotting M1, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'm overrating where they've been racing, but that's why I'm going to Lady Adelia. But Elderbaron Miley, similar sort of situation. Let's see what happens.
Before we get back into the quad.
Yeah, okay. This is this sees Petrarca resuming, Jace, and obviously has a pretty phenomenal record. Does Petrarca or Petrarca? It's Petrarca, isn't it? With the double C, you still say Petrarca. It's won 11 of 14. It's purely focused on the Eureka. There's a pretty fair argument to say, Jay Bond, that it's just better than all of these. We haven't got a market yet, but I imagine it'll be skinny.
What have I marked? Well, I've marked it maybe longer than it will be.
So I would imagine it's opening up around $1.28.
Nah, not for me.
But do you think that's what it'll open or no?
No, it won't be. I don't think it'll be that short.
Okay.
And if it is, we'll be back in a couple of others.
You've surely got it in the tomato sauce, though.
Yeah, I have. But
yeah,
if I was actually standing running a book here so that people could bet on it, I probably wouldn't go much. But you know what? I'd throw it out at $1.60.
Yeah, I reckon you'd learn pretty quickly how the races go to play out.
I'm not sure I would because anyway.
Mm.
There was an article before we get quickly before we do that. There's a data snap here, isn't there?
Let's have a look at the data snap.
I reckon it's a weird one.
So we bring it up on the screen here. Yeah, look at that. So you've got Crime Rider record leading the pole marker. This horse is a black booker of mine. If you check out our Black Bookers page, 5 starts, 3 wins, 2 placings from the when leading, Jace. 60% win record, and you've got 100% place record for Crime Rider.
Yeah,
it's interesting. 100% when leading, and we'll get the opportunity should Matty Craven choose. Captain Belisario, barrier 7, first up from a spell. Jane Davies, Jack Law, record fresh, excluding debut from Jason here. 7 from J-Bond, not Jason. He's not in trouble, so I've got to say J-Bond. 7 starts for 5 wins and a placing. 71.43% win record when fresh. And Petrarca, record fresh, excluding debut, 4 starts, 4 wins. That's a 100% record.
Both of them have actually had little breaks. And before I get fully stuck in, I've got a funny feeling Captain Belisario, because of his problems, might be one of those horses who excels in the first 2 or 3 runs of his campaign.
Mm.
Crime Rider, just getting back to the original stat. Crime Rider, they only ever use him off the gate from the pole. He's drawn there here. There's speed from Radius, doesn't use it much anymore and wouldn't cross anyway, I don't think. Classic Mission's got it, but not enough, I don't think. Charlie's Angel goes back these days. Final Collect likes to have a crack, but unfortunately rarely gets across. Sanday goes back these days. Captain Belisario, there is an article on Herv, on the trots.
Yep.
From Jane Davies, but it's the last quote of the article that I focused on, which is something like, hopefully we can slot in somewhere. And I read that as, well, if you're drawn gate 7 and you go back, you're not slotting in anywhere. And we'll leave it to Jack, really, and that's Jack Law. I think we both have an opinion, and you have a very considered, deliberate opinion.
Yeah.
That and very cogent, persuasive arguments for it. The Captain Belisario, when he leads, particularly fresh like this, can over race and cook himself, and his record in front would concur. But I think they can balance up here, not run him off the gate, and then as the best horse clearly off the front row, then roll around and have a crack for the top. And if that happens,
but the moment you, it does. But the moment you have a crack, this horse has shown that even if you don't, and you're on this, even if you don't open it up too much, he starts carrying on and starts pulling and firing up and racing fiercely. Just almost like you've got to be so cautious, in my opinion. And another quote that Jane Davies has said here, he's drawn awkward in 7. We are just going to look after him and make sure he's doing his best work at the finish. She went on to say previously to that he's been pulling hard, but he has settled well in his 2 trials this time in. Hopefully he can just settle a bit more in his races. So I know she's finished off by saying, hopefully he can slot in, we'll leave it to Jack. But she was very clear also saying that we want him to settle and look after him and make sure he's doing his best work at the finish, which tells me maybe he's not being, he won't even float forward. He'll just drift back with a run.
If that happens and Petrarca can balance up, rip around and take the top, well, Petrarca is $1, probably $1.04 chance. So you've got to make up your own mind, don't you? It's pick your poison, choose your own adventure. Ultimately, I think Captain Belisario, the one thing I'll say about Captain Belisario is I think he's an absolutely outstanding talent. Petrarca is too, but pound for pound, I'm using that term a lot. I've been watching a lot of boxing. But operative line, Sahara Breeze is interesting second up from break, but the draw makes it hard. Operative line, my great mate. He ends up no worse than 3 of the polls. And rather than get into a war over who the winner is, or trying to back Petrarca at $1, whatever it is, maybe I think we both agreed that operative line, a place if we get a decent go at it.
100%.
Way to play this race.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because he was able to sit behind Jillaby Jack Sparrow and sprint past that horse when you've tipped it that night, Jason, win the race. Crime Rider at the moment isn't Jillaby Jack Sparrow. So if it can do it to Jillaby Jack Sparrow, then he can do it to Crime Rider. Okay, so Crime Rider, I think, will be holding the front early under my scenario where Belisario goes back. I've got Matty Craven leading for as long as he wants and then handing up when Petrarca just comes a knocking, right? From there, operative line, I think, will sprint past Crime Rider. I think Crime Rider gets a chance to potentially lob a place, though I think Sahara Breeze will still have it beat for class at the finish, but Crime Rider maps nicely, obviously. But I agree with you. I think operative line, the place is a really, really solid bet.
What price would we both need? I would say I would get involved at 240.
Yeah, I was about to say 250, 240. I'd agree 100% because I think we both think it's more likely that he'll place than not. So if you're giving us 240, that's great value.
Might have a shekel on to win. And I'll also, before we get stuck into the pod quad, I will also be happy, regardless of the case that you've made and the article posted, to back Captain Belisario if they decide to go down that route of opening Petrarca, Christian, at a ridiculously short quote, which means that Captain Belisario would have to be juicy enough for me to get involved.
Yeah, you might end up. I mean, you're right. If they open the favourite way too short, it could be huge overs. But let's wait and see. Right, race number 5 kicks off the almighty quaddie, had the pod quad for those following along from home. J-Bomb, we've got a Trotters free for all kick off for the 5th. 8 runners in the first leg.
I reckon I've got more. I've got the stake nights here. This isn't even the stake nights, but I've got more data snaps, more pace set of profiles.
Race 5.
I've got one that I've never used before.
Hello.
I lamplighted it earlier. Ebony's Avenger has gate speed.
Yep.
You would think 90% of horses with gate speed drawn the pole would have a better record off gate 1.
Wow. 2 wins from 19 for Ebony, 6 placings, 10.5% win strike rate and a 42% place record. Record not from the pole, 83 starts for 9 wins and 30 placings, 10.84% win record, so a higher win record than from the pole, and a higher place record from the pole.
Articulated, yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, it's just the only reason I investigated is because I know that Ebony's Avenger, particularly early doors, but even more recently, sometimes when used off gate 1, gets a bit rough or something nefarious transpires. So anyway, that's Ebony's Avenger. Was it a big hope anyway? Probably not. Sacred Mountain is the most interesting runner, but the other profile is Sleepy, 1720. We know short course specialist. Now, this isn't leading, but first to pegs. So first to pegs. So whether it leads and holds the top or leads and trails, never missed a place. The question is, can it get across? Because there is some gate speed drawn inside, and I don't know, have you had the opportunity to go to the HRNZ? Oh, yeah, bro. And Cortamori as well.
Yep.
As we well know. To go and have a look at Sacred Mountain. Has got good gate speed. And so is Harry Stamper these days.
I haven't. Yeah, Harry Stamper's absolutely got and drawn nicely in 3. No, I haven't had a look at the New Zealand gate speed of Sacred Mountain. I was interested in Chris Finozio's comments, though, J-Bond, during the week, that don't expect too much at this stage. Basically, nice trotter, but this Saturday night, you just let's see, we'll improve for the run was what I took from that.
Well, that helps us. So is it a race of how many winning hopes are there?
I reckon I could make a case for 3, maybe 4.
1 overall.
Yep.
Harry Stamper.
Yep.
Parisian Artiste.
No.
Who I backed last week, and that was heartbreaking.
Oh, well, I backed Ebony's Avenger last week, and that was equally heartbreaking when Mercenary fell at its face and it had to angle off the pegs after losing all that ground and then galloped.
Who's your 3 then 4?
Awful. Well, I think I've got Ebony's Avenger, Harry Stamper, and 1 overall, and Sleepy probably as the 4. Oh, but with a huge question mark on Sacred Mountain. I think you'd have to. What do you do? Do you throw it in, or do you just listen to what Stu says and think, well, maybe you don't throw it in?
I reckon. I think it will now, rather than getting a position, a place in the employment of my major quad, it will be in my dagger.
All right. I think I'll be doing this. I'm pretty confident at 1 overall if nothing goes wrong. If everything goes as it should, J-Bon, in this race, I think 1 overall's got the class.
If I drift on my current market, Sacred Mountain, a little bit.
What was your early price?
Based on your words as a conduit for you are you're a ventriloquist for me for Snoozer.
I really should call it up and have a look because I don't want to have given you a bum steer here. It says here, Snooze warns of very tough test for Kiwi trotting mare. He's warning punters not to get too excited about Sacred Mountain. She's only been here a couple of weeks, he said. Obviously, she was good mare in New Zealand for Nikki Chilcott. Merv just brought her over here to see how she goes. She arrived in good order, but this will be a very tough test for her. Hopefully, she can just run a nice race, and there might be some better mares races for her in the future.
Okay.
And then he sort of doubles down. This is going to be pretty tough racing some nice free-for-alls. We're not expecting much this week.
Well,
He's blunt.
What Merv Butterworth, of course, the great Merv Butterworth.
Yes.
What price would you want one overall?
I don't know.
Al, even Bob Hawke.
Don't
You're
know.
Hawke getting on your T-shirt. Al.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I assume that it'll open around about $2.30, $2.40.
I think if I drift Sacred Mountain a touch, I reckon you're looking at probably $2 one overall.
Yep.
$2.50 Harry Stamper.
Yep.
And then you can have a go with everything else.
Sacred Mountain, $6 or $7. Ebony's Avenger, what, $11, $12?
21.
Oh, gee, surely much short of the place. Surely. It beat Sleepy when the race mapped pretty similarly a few starts back.
Sleepy's about 14 for me. Maybe $7 now for Sacred Mountain, and maybe $6. You're not into Prisoner East at all.
I'd have to go. I'd have to dig deeper into the form for it. I don't. But look, it's in the race. I just think that one overall and Harry Stamper for mine have a clear gap. Then I've got Ebony's Avenger, Sacred Mountain, Sleepy in that next tier, and maybe Prisoner East.
So I think we both. I'm getting the vibe. I'm vibing. I'm feeling that neither of us really want to, at the moment at least. Neither of us are that keen to have a big bet in this race.
I'm not envisaging that I will because, as I said, if you gave me 230, 241 overall, I'd consider it, but you're suggesting it might open shorter.
But maybe Ebony's Avenger of the drum for you.
Maybe.
So Pod Quad, I only want really, no, I want Harry Stamper, one overall definitely, and then about one more each for both of us.
All right, so we get one more each.
I'll go Prisoner East, mine, obviously.
All right. So, and I'll go Ebony's Avenger. Okay. And then watch Sleepy knock us all out. All right, 1, 3.
Your what's up party time?
1, 3, 4, 8 in the fifth. Race 6, the Ben Stud Standees pace. J-Bon. My question to you here is, I've got 2 questions for you here, right? Before we look at, I believe, have you got a data snap to bring up here? But before we get to it, how good is He's From Heaven? That's the first question. And the second question is, if High Above paces and scores up and does all the right things, does it just win?
Question in 2 parts. He's From Heaven, I think, is not bad without being anything special based on evidence at the moment.
Right.
And yes, 100%. If High Above doesn't miss it by 953,000 metres,
yep,
like last time, it will definitely win the race. Your thoughts?
I tend to agree. Yeah, absolutely. I think High Above is the class factor. I don't know. You see what happened last time, right? 3 times he's won and he could have been anything. He just looked brilliant.
Yeah.
And then 2 times has been beaten and made mistakes. You're going to be asked to take a pretty prohibitive price, I would have thought, here.
Yeah.
And, gee, it's a tough scenario in a way, isn't it? What do you do? I suppose you've just got him one out in your main quads, but you absolutely then have to play savers because he just might not score up.
Well, I think it's actually, I think this way about many things in life. You can look at it as a negative, or you can get excited about it. Because you have to make a call. Yeah, you're right. It'll be staggered quads, one out with High Above in the main one. But you've got to make a call. How much am I going to apportion to him based on what happened last start? And then if it is your attitude, your perspective, that you're willing to risk him a fair way and you get him beaten, well, your quaddy already looks pretty good at that point, doesn't it?
Yeah, true.
But how many can, even if he does everything wrong, so you take him out of the equation, remove him, delete him, wipe out from that bloke from the Monkeys, his mum or whatever, dad, creative white. How many do you throw in if you just delete him?
2.
All right, He's From Heaven Wow, 2.
Mhm.
Dukes.
No. I reckon there's a horse in here that's comfortably got Dukes covered.
Or is?
And in fact, did comfortably have Dukes covered when it was weaving through, and I think you black booked it.
The Beach Fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's flying.
Early speed here even is messy.
It is, because No Sweets for You with Chris Finocchio comes out quickly. He's from Heaven.
I'll start with that.
He's from Heaven. Javon, I assume, has good gate speed.
He's from Heaven. I don't think he'd ever used it, and then used it last start.
Yeah.
And there was a bit in the locker. Enough in the locker, I think, to lead. But No Sweets for You is going to have a crack. Rakayed. Only knows one way to be aggressive, or he probably goes back.
Yeah.
There's a fluker's hope, more than a fluker's hope, that the Beach Fantasy, if it really charged the gate, could get across everything. And then 6 and 7 go back, even though we know Aussie Battler can fly the gate, it won't do so from that draw. So there's a bit going on.
Yep, there is.
I expect the one to lead, but not without challenge.
All right, pod quad time then. Do we just write number 11? Or do we... The pod quad's the one where we go a bit wider sometimes, because we do want to get the pod quad up for the punters, J-Bon.
Just bear with me for a second. I'm left one of my profile pages in the printer.
Oh, there you go.
No, we've got nothing here.
So do we just go one out the 11, or does the pod quad, do we play it wider because it's the pod quad?
Are we allowed to have 2 pod? No, we're not.
No, but we're not. But we can stagger on our game plans. So I guess the question is, are we just go, well, of course this is the question. Are we go one out, or are we throwing in 1 and 5, or is there something else?
1, 5. Let me check my prices here. 1, 5. Yeah, 1, 5, and 11 will do.
All right, 1, 5, 11.
I reckon Duke's Choice can run a place, though, if they give us massive odds here.
Yep. No, fair call. All right, race 7 then, third leg of the quaddie. If we can be still in it to this point, you'd like to think we would be. J-Bon, I'm just going to put it straight up there. I do not know enough about this race to have a strong opinion. We've got some really nice young trotters that, to be honest, I can't line up, and therefore I've decided not to. But we have to come up with a pod quad. What about you? Have you got a firm view on this race?
Well, I've only got no. I do not have. It's not firm. It's floppy. It's mercury. It's quicksilver. Turns to water under a certain temperature. Ewing is the only pace setter profile here.
2 starts, 2 wins.
Limited career, but it's pretty startling, isn't it? 2
starts,
2 wins when leading.
When leading,
9 starts not leading, never won in 3 places.
Yeah. Yep.
But I do think it will lead. Do we agree that the best horse in the race is probably the one with the most scope is Uncle Remus Phoenix?
I think so. But Tyrone Abela, he can find a very good trotter. Is it Abela or Abella? Abela. All right. Well, he's got all that remains. Can find a nice trotter. And Greg Light is another one who can find a nice trotter and has April Sun. So there's a couple of stables that might not get a lot of headlines, but they actually do get some nice trotters drawn out the back. Remus Phoenix on potential, probably. Midnight Eagle, I don't. What do you think? You're going to knock Albie this week, Chase? Knock one of his?
The lights. They are very, very good trainers. Steve's got I don't know if he's still got it. He used to have like a ZZ top type. Ginger facial hair type.
Yeah, right.
Fantastic. Really impressive. Something that I couldn't achieve, no doubt.
Back to the Future 3 ZZ top.
All that remains has got a lot of ability. Remus Phoenix, clearly the best horse in the race.
Yep.
In my opinion, if it was 17-20, I'd be thinking, because a number of these off the front row, they're young, they're inexperienced, and they need to be balanced up. So if Ewing, over a short trip, if Ewing, you would expect Ewing would lead and be very hard to beat, but class might come to the fore here, and I'd be including, so pod quad, again, no bet, we've already agreed that we're very uncertain.
No bet.
I want to include Remus Phoenix.
Yep.
Ewing.
Ewing, so 3 and 4.
And the other two that I would include would be Kai Valley Michael.
7.
And all that remains.
All right. And I'll chuck in number 9, April Sun as well.
Okay.
So we'll go 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9 in the third leg. And hopefully we can find something a little more certain in the last leg of the quaddie, J-Bond, the renowned silverware pace.
I'm glad you spoke quickly. Yes.
Where was I going? Potentially.
You just sort of paused at an interesting. So,
okay.
Does it get much easier here? I'm not sure it does.
No, I don't think it does. But I must say I found one from my black booker from last week that I'm pretty keen to play if the price is right. As your business class.
Yeah.
Massive eye catcher last week. I black booked it earlier in the show, as you know. It is drawn wide here in 7, but I think the fourth last week was in a better Metro Maiden than this. The Michael Gadsden stable is flying. James Herbertson is flying.
Gadsden. What a man.
Absolutely flying. I think Talara's Shadow is underrated.
Who you know that I black booked myself, so
yes,
and we spoke.
Of course we did. We mentioned that earlier. So I think Talara's Shadow is hugely overrated, hugely underrated. It's late. Don't take that as the sound grab. Hugely underrated Talara's Shadow, but. My go here, Jace, will be business class each way, and I'm hoping for double figure odds. But you're the price man. Generally, I know you haven't put as much into your prices now as you've done for the last 75 years.
Well, I'm heading up towards my 123rd birthday.
Did you take over from Hutchie? Or where did it go? Was it Hutchie, then you, or was there someone in between?
No, a great friend of mine, Michael Polster.
It was Polster, yep.
We both went for the same job, and I snuck in the back door as a journalist, doing a few articles for the now defunct, long defunct Harness Racer magazine. Polster got the job, but I just weaved a passage and started doing a bit of form, and then Michael left, but we created good form together, Michael Polster and I. So he's, for many reasons, he holds a very significant place in my heart. But I'm giving you about $12 to $14 for business class.
That'd be good enough for me.
Because of the draw, you should get a decent place price as well.
Yep. And you've marked, and as we talked about earlier, Talara's Shadow caught your eye last time out.
I want a price. This sometimes happens to me. So the last start outing was here at Melton for Talara's Shadow, and it was drawn awkwardly. And I even as I did the form, I was like, geez, I would like to be able to back this horse in a better situation.
Yeah.
It was extremely good the way it ran home. The question mark is Gate 1 even a great situation? Quick data snap here, I think. Again, is Gate 1 a great situation for Talara's Shadow? Because I'm not sure it'd be able to hold the front. The data snap says, if I can find it, Outback Queenie's
it says that Outback Queenie, speaking of Talara's Shadow, the data snap says Outback Queenie.
Well, you probably couldn't have it, but it's the quickest beginner off the front row. And when it's first to pegs, it'll be a big price, I would imagine.
7 starts for 3 wins, 3 placings, 85.71% place record on the pegs. That's Tim Mortlock's horse, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'll
J-Bond, Talara's Shadow was on the pegs in the Jody's Babe and looked like it was under a drive coming to the turn.
Yeah.
And then it really picked up late and finished off really well, beaten 5.9 metres by Crimes of a Lady. So what was in that race, Paradise Valley and Norm's Lady? It beat home Monomere, Tangoing with Sierra, Joel Leader, Lady Bourgeois, and Lady Lana that night. Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad was size.
Metro Maiden.
So I'll be backing it, but not at no. I don't know what price we're going to get. I've marked it, I think, for around the $3 mark.
Yep.
Because it could get buried. Doesn't have a lot of gate speed. That's the one that I want to have go out here. You want to have a go at business class each way.
I do.
But
And I
if
think
we've already gone a little bit wide now, Quaddy, last league, I think we have to go very wide, don't we?
so. Outback Queenie goes in the hope that.
No.
How many drives has Michelle Phillips got there for the night? Just there, the one drive. This horse, you brought up the data snap, but you're not interested in.
Let me look again how much more gate speed it's got than the others.
Well, the question becomes Talara's Shadow and Cool Night drawn underneath. Now, has Cool Night, most of the Andy Gath horses have got good gate speed. Does Cool Night have it?
Some.
Okay. All right. Well, I
so
guess
it definitely goes in. 1, 2. Yeah, why not? Let's chuck 3 in.
4.
Maybe
6. You know what? I don't know. I want 7 in, obviously. Do you want
to go in?
Yeah, still put it in. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 7, 8.
Let's field the last leg.
Field?
Well,
done.
The Moray Rock's not hopeless. The Sports Star's not hopeless.
Yep.
Sasiola's going well. Why not? All
right. Let's go field and hope for a result. So the pod quad is 1, 3, 4, 8, 1, 5, 11, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9 into the field. Last time we did something like this, it might have cost you a few hundred to get on, but it paid about 7,000 or 8,000. So, and we got
64 times 9, which is 576. I'll tell you what, we only need a higher button to get rolled.
Yes.
And then he's eventually won the first leg, gets a value in that last leg.
It becomes the jackpot and only the pod quad followers who have got it.
There's a good chance.
The get out stakes. The get out stakes, is it as easy as just doesn't even matter, Jace? You've got Very Pretty, who's likely to be $1, whatever. The funny thing is, you've got Exotic Bushranger, who's a really nice horse. Ghost of Time, who's in my black book. Our mate Menko, I know you've got a big opinion of. There's potentially really good speed early in this, isn't there? As they all jostle to try and get to the pegs first.
Well, that's the hard part of it. I mean, typically, you and I have developed and evolved in a way that we look at these races where if you know the winner, you immediately think we've got a money race, right? But it ain't that easy, is it?
Yeah.
Very Pretty's going to win the race, isn't it? Like it honestly will be $1.08.
Has to be.
But who do you throw in for second? You know what I'm thinking about anchoring it around?
Let me guess.
Sweet Passion. Oh, sorry. Sweet Passion for second or third.
Well, it's scratched, so therefore you didn't actually give anything away because that is now a scratching. Number 3's out, which just throws another spanner into the works, J-Bond, for you.
Okay. Well, our mate Minko is probably going to lead now, isn't it?
Well, Ghost, at the time you made the point, is quicker from out wide. It's a very quick beginner. So that'll be interesting.
So our mate Minko will hold it. Would it want to hold the front? Probably.
What, when Very Pretty comes around?
No, I mean hold the front from Ghost of Time and Exotic Bushranger.
Yeah, good question, actually. I wonder if Mick Stanley just balances up, and if they have to go, if our mate Menko and Ghost of Time go at each other early, and Mick sort of ambles across, and then they finally one of them wins, Mick hits the button and says, "Well, before Very Pretty comes, I'm going to run to the top." You know, that's kind of what I'm thinking will happen. But I worry that 4 and 5 will burn a bit of petrol early doors fighting each other.
Yeah,
for those.
The only good news for Ghost of Time is you can go forward having a crack for the front and then think that probably Exotic Bushranger is going to come around and might give you cover anyway. I'm thinking if forced with a couple of days left to give it due consideration, 10 to beat 1457, 1457. Maybe Clementis in for third. 10 to beat 1457, 1457 will get you pretty close. And Jack O'Connor might be the one that adds the value because if they are going hammer and tong, Jack O'Connor 3 poles, if it has to do nothing to land behind lead at 3 poles.
Yeah.
3 poles,
I went 10 and then /1 4 5 7 9 in first fours. My issue is if I can't find a way to, I mean, you could just play those 5 numbers for second, third, and fourth if you believe that Clementis or Jack O'Connor could actually run second because they might.
I don't hate it at all.
See, Clementis was going super, and then funny, it goes up to Mildura, hasn't put a foot wrong, but because it's Mildura form, I think some frown upon it a little bit, but it was actually going really well. in these sort of races, minus very pretty.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, the beauty of it is, before we wind up, the form show and the show in total, Exotic Bushranger would we agree, is the second best horse in the race?
I think so, yeah. I like Ghost of Time and Menko. I know you've got an opinion of Menko, but I think Exotic Bushranger has the high ceiling, the potential ceiling.
And the thing is, there is a chance that it won't run a place.
Yep, true.
So that we've worked this out nicely. There will be a money raise for me in the game plan. Put it that way, Coates.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. So that's race 9. All right, but Bond, best bets before we wrap it up?
Best bets would be, well, I like Jilliby Jack Sparrow a place. I want to lay Perfect Class in the first. Leyden each way if it's the right price. Same goes for Aldebaran Miley, operative line of place. And then we take a little bit of a break, have a cup of tea, grab ourselves a biscuit, maybe a Monte Carlo, Talara's Shadow. That'll do me. Coates?
I never do this, but a multi. Petrarca, high above and very pretty. Bit boring, but I just think that's probably the best play. I think after all said and done, they're all likely to win. Blaster Ranger, bit of a 1x5 type play at big odds, hopefully. Business Class each way, race 8. And I'm with you 100% on operative line, the place, and also Leyden if the price is right.
Business Class each way or 1x3, 4?
No, look, I play them 1x3, 1x4 anyway, even when it's each way. But I'm feeling pretty confident about Business Class, although there's been a pretty good case made for Talara's Shadow. So we shall see. But J-Bond, good luck. It's going to be a freezing cold night, I'm sure. But hopefully the racing's hot up in Queensland and also here at Melton. And, hey, let's hope we can bounce back from a pretty tough night last weekend.
It was very tough. Hopefully we can see those prices on HervBet tomorrow sometime. And if not, Saturday morning to find out what our fate might be. Well played again, Codes. Good job, brother.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Bond.